What's up? I'm Drew Paul Bell, and in this video I want to talk about group projects in school, especially architecture school. Okay, so going through school, and I spent about 20 years going through school, I used to dread doing group projects because I felt like I would always be the only one doing any of the work. But what I think is actually true, I don't think it was ever that I was doing all of the work, even though it's easy for someone's ego to tell themselves that. Instead, I think it was more like the principle that 80% of the work was being done by 20% of the group members. Now, this is a statistic that finds its way through all kinds of economics and mathematics and statistics. 80% of the work being done by 20% of the workers. To do well in group projects, come to terms with that fact. Now, is that going to always be true? No. Every once in a while, you're going to get the dream team of plenty of people who are willing to pitch in, and everybody contribute really well and be easy to work with. But in school, that's probably only going to happen like 3 times in your entire schooling career. I've certainly had some times where that happened for me, but it was typically not the norm. So in order to do well, come to terms with that fact. Because I remember there was one time where we had kind of a large group. We were having to model the site model for our studio that semester. And there was one guy that kind of took charge, as he was going to be the one that was going to make sure that this stuff got done. And I was like the strong number 2, and I was always there. And for me, I was just stoked that I had someone else that was constantly there, and it was like me and him working on it, and we were going to get it done. I was happy about that. But he was very mad that other people in the group weren't doing their work. And he was, to be fair, he was probably even doing, he was doing more work than me, and I was always there. But I didn't have that kind of dissonance in my mind. I wasn't all upset about the fact that no one else was doing anything. I was just happy that I had one other person helping me, or that one other person I could work with, that it was me and him together getting most of the stuff done. So it made for a much smoother project for me anyway, the one who accepted it. So accept the fact that most of the people just aren't going to do things. You get to ask yourself then, who do you want to be? Do you want to be in the 20% that's going to get shit done? The 20% that's going to be capable to handle things? Or do you want to be an 80% that's too lazy to pull it together, organize with a couple other people, and work towards a common goal? Alright, and I don't make videos for the 80% to do that. So if you're watching this, chances are you're in the 20%. So accept the fact that you might not get everyone else on board to help you, and put forth the effort that it takes to get that done. Now, in the real world, is this the way it goes? I'm going to say no, probably not. Now, I can only speak from my experience at my firm, right? I'm in a small firm, so somebody at a big firm who works in bigger teams, might say something completely different. You might have a totally opposite experience. But the fundamental structure of the operations that happen in a studio class or in a class of any kind are so backwards from the way that things work in the typical corporate world, which is that in the corporate world, you're in the office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. minimum. Like, you have this many people who are here for this chunk of time during the day. They're expected to be there, working towards their common goal. That's not what happens in school. You have 5 different classes you're taking. So right now, well, are we all available at this time? No, we're not, because so-and-so has class at like 3:30, and this guy has, these 2 people are taking that class at 9:30 a.m. So like, well, what? They're all mad because they're like, I don't have, my afternoons are free. Why aren't your afternoons free to go work on the laser cutter? And it's not a structure that's really well built to mesh with different people working together. And that's just the way that it is. So I'm going to say no, that probably doesn't happen that badly when you get into the workforce. And then the other thing that happens in the workforce is that you're now with people that you're going to become accustomed to working with these people, which means 2 things. One, you're going to get better at it. You're going to get more smooth. You're going to understand each other's tendencies. You're going to know what each other forgets. Oh, that guy's bad at spelling. That's usually me. And this person does that. You're able to work together more effectively because you know each other better. The other thing is, because you're going to be working with each other constantly, you have more at stake. Because if you're in a class and somebody's like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to have a class with this guy again either, and as soon as we graduate, I'm never going to see them again. They can say screw off and not show up, and they're going to get the same grade, probably. Maybe maybe the one person gets an A. Maybe the other person even gets a C. But they might even be like, it's worth it to me to not do anything and sit around playing World of Warcraft all day, or whatever the hell it is that they're doing. So the dynamics in the workforce are totally different, and it's a lot less likely that that would happen. Now, you probably could find examples of that happening, but don't feel overwhelmed and feel like it's going to always be like that and group projects suck. Like, there's a way to make it work. Generally, in the most successful projects that I've been a part of, they've all had kind of the one leader that was willing and ready to step up and make stuff happen. They had one, they didn't have too many, all right? The other problem is too many chiefs. But kind of the two flops are the one where nobody wants to take charge, and they're all just kind of hoping it's just going to pull itself together, it's just going to happen, and that never happens. And then the other way is you have like 2 or 3 people or 4 people that are all clashing heads about the way this ought to be done. All right, those are both really bad spots to be in. So if you're in a position like either of those, recognize it and act accordingly. So if you're in a group full of people who don't want to take charge, be the one that steps up and take charge. If you've never done it before, all the more reason to do it. Because now you're going to build that structure, build that kind of confidence and the ability to stand up and take charge and make things happen. You're going to be more likely and more ready, willing, and able to make that happen when you're out in the real world or any other point in your day-to-day life, right? It's like a muscle. You got to practice that stuff. If you're in a room with too many chiefs and you're the other person clashing with somebody else, maybe take a step back, yield a little bit, compromise a little bit, and for the sake of getting things done, make a compromise. Or kick them out of the group, tell them to go do something else, right? I don't know. I don't think I ever solved those issues so well. I didn't have them all that often. So yeah, in the stories and in the projects where I feel like they came together the best, there was always like 1 or 2 people that were leading the way, and then the others had to be strong followers. So also don't be afraid to be a strong follower. The narrative is sometimes like the Starchitect, and I'm the person that's going to get it all handled. You need follow-up people too. Like you need people who are just going to be there supportive. In that site model project, I was the kind of the number one supporter, right? I was that one that was always ready and willing to be there and execute and do what had to be done because of the person who was planning it, what he said. So I would kind of follow directions, and I would think for myself, and also go and I would view it as kind of being like the vice president of the project. And I saw this like from all different angles. The number 2 is a really important piece of the puzzle. Then there were other projects where I pushed to do the study model of this one particular building, so that meant that I was taking charge of it. And then when you're in that role, part of what you have to do there is plan out what has to get done, make a strategy and a plan, execute it, and make sure that other people are following through on what has to get done. And that means that if they're not following through, be ready and willing to step in and handle that stuff anyway. Like when you tell them to be at the laser cutter at 9 a.m. when it opens, and you know that they're not going to be there at 9 a.m. when it opens, you get yourself there already anyway and cut what needs to get cut. So the way to do well in group projects is, to wrap up, accept the fact that 80% of the work is going to get done by 20% of the group members. Be one of the 20% of the group members that gets stuff done and not one of the lazy 80%. Then don't get overwhelmed or discouraged. Working in a real world is not so skewed like that for many reasons. Then the structure that helps the best within a group project is to make sure that you have like 1 or 2 leaders and strong supportive people within that group, and be good at stepping back and realizing which one of those roles needs to be filled the most. All right, so there's a lot that could be said about working in group projects, and these are just some things that I've picked up. So, there could probably be a lot more in-depth stuff about this, but I think that these are some quality tips to help you do better in group projects, and I hope that this helps you Let me know about your experience doing group projects in the comments down below. I want to hear about them. So I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you next time.